Hello and welcome back, or welcome for the first time. My name is Kat Blanchard. I'm a single mom to an 11-year-old daughter, and I have been a single mom her whole life. And today I just want to talk with you guys about homeschooling and how I homeschool my daughter and keep track of everything. If you like this video, please give it a like because that really supports the channel. Subscribe if you want to come back for more. I talk about all things single mom life, and my goal is to really encourage and empower single moms to do what they want to do in life and to know that they can. And just know that they're valued and loved. So I will get to this video without further ado. I'm not really big on all the fluff because I don't know how to do it. Okay. Homeschool. I was homeschooled my whole life. However, I was not homeschooled well. I was very much sheltered. My mom did take us to like homeschool co-ops and things like that, but we did not really experience normal real life stuff at all. And I'm not big on that. I'm not I'm protective of my daughter, but I still I want her to see the world and experience the world. Also, my mom had cancer when I was 6. And so my parents were afraid of public school, essentially. They didn't want us to be badly influenced. So they kept us homeschooled, but my mom, because of cancer and chemotherapy and a lot of drugs and hormones stuff that she was on, she couldn't really keep up with it and do it very well. So we ended up kind of taking over our own schooling. I want to say around 7th grade I did. My sisters, I think, ended up going to some sort of other school. I don't remember what kind. But I did not. I pretty much finished. I later tried to pay for my own correspondence high school, but of course I didn't have a regular job and I couldn't keep up with the payments, so I didn't do it. So essentially, I quit and never finished high school. And then I didn't get my GED till I was 28 and then went to college at that point in time. But that's another story for another day. So all that to say, I have every reason to not believe in homeschool. However, my daughter suffered with anxiety quite a bit and in school, and it was the randomest thing that set it off. It was something that happened in the classroom. Nobody did anything to her or anything like that, but something set it off and it triggered this trauma response in her brain. And so it had a cascading effect that was that was a rough time in motherhood, to say the least. It was a rough time. Anyway, so we ended up homeschooling. I was able to do this because I wrote a proposal letter to my bosses and basically outlined what I would like to do. And I gave them a few different options of ways that I could still do my work and also homeschool my daughter. Luckily, I was in a position where I could take her with me. I had 2 part-time jobs. I was able to take her with me to one of my jobs. Well, to both of my jobs, really. But I lived right next door to one of my jobs. So that was a huge blessing for me. Now, as far as paying for curriculum, that was not too bad the first year. So I took her out to homeschool her in 4th grade. And now she's in 6th grade. That wasn't too bad in 4th grade, but as the years went on, she has more that she has to do and more that I would like to add in, so it's cost a little bit more money. But I very highly recommend Facebook Marketplace. A lot of homeschool moms, especially ones who have just a couple kids or kids that are spaced further apart, they'll resell their curriculum on specific Facebook pages. So they have a resale group for different curricula. And that's where I got the bulk of what we have for this year. So I'm going to go into what I'm using this year. If you would like to see a video about what I've used in years past, then let me know in the comments and I will make it. And here we go. So the spine of our homeschool is Sonlight. This year we are doing Sonlight Core D and E. We could technically be in F this year. However, I really wanted to make sure that we started with a solid foundation of American history. So for Sonlight, their cores are history, Bible, literature, and then you can add on from there. And I wanted to make sure that we had a good solid foundation for American history. And luckily they have an option to do D and E together. So that's what we're doing this year. And then I'm gonna probably skip F next year and go straight to G. Or she's gonna be going to a local Christian school, but I don't know about that yet. That's just a possibility. We'll see what happens. So for Sonlight, oh gosh, where do I even start? So it is a literature-based program, which means you get a lot of books, and the books are all centered around the time period of history that you're learning about. So we have regular history books like this one, and the one that comes after it, which is over here. Hang on. These two books. Landmark History of the American People. This one's From Plymouth to the West. This one's From Charleston to the Moon. We're almost done with this one. You can see we only have a few pages left. And these are like main history books going through different things. It's generally following chronological order, but within each time period, it's talking about different aspects. So it'll talk about politics. It'll talk about inventions and creative things that are happening. It'll talk about what's happening within other people groups at the same time, which I appreciate. So this is like, at the moment, this is some of our main, where's our other history book? Oh, this one too. I love this one. This is the Smithsonian American History book. It comes with it as well. The lady who had this before me put all these labels on that are just amazing. I love it so much. Anyway, this book is beautiful. It has some, oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Reread this last week. This week? This week. So those are the main ones. However, at the same time, you're going to be reading a bunch of literature that goes along with that time period in history. So she is currently reading the Lewis and Clark Expedition book. That's her personal reader. And then we also have a read aloud that we do every day. The one that we're currently on is Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. And it is about this man who kind of was a genius mathematician, and he ends up changing the whole face of navigation for ships and whatnot, because he realized that the standard navigation tables were off, which caused a lot of people their lives. So he ends up rewriting them, and the only problem is that a lot of people die in this book. But that opened up great conversation to talk about the fact that in this time in history, people died a lot more, pretty often. So anyway, this is our current reader. However, I don't even know how to start showing you this. Okay. All of the yellow ones are read alouds, and then the green ones are her readers. That's the books. So, needless to say, she's going to be reading a lot. We are going to be reading a lot this year. We've already made it through several books this year. And I love that aspect of it because I believe children learn so much immersively. I learned a lot about history if you remember, I said that I kind of stopped pretty early on, but I read a lot of fictional history, and even some regular history and from that I learned a lot about history in general, just from reading those books. And I truly believe that reading is so important. And so I love that this is literature based. I love that she gets to get a more in-depth look into what life was like during these other time periods. And it's just my favorite thing. So she has readers that she reads herself and sometimes she has to do oral book reports. She has a little bit of dysgraphia. It's hard for her to get thoughts from her head onto paper. So I have her do oral reports on her voice recorder. And that seems to help a lot with that. So that's history, Bible, literature. She also reads her Bible every day. There's some Bible study type things in here. This is a Christian-based curriculum, but there is also, oh goodness, what's it called? Of course, it's slipping my mind. There's one like Sonlight that's not Christian-based. Blue something. I'll put it up here or down there in the description once I figure it out. Okay, so that is generally that. So next we have science. We did do the science that came with the Sonlight program. And so we had to get this Usborne Science Encyclopedia that she has gone through. When I first got it, this wasn't in there, and I thought that I ordered the right one. I was like, this is the one I ordered, and it did not match up with the questions. And then I quickly realized that this more child-friendly version was what I was supposed to order. So I have both now, but this one makes me excited. Like it's pretty amazing. I could highly recommend that for everyone. So we have those. She has two of these TOPS books. One is magnetism and one is electricity. And these have just a whole bunch of different experiments to do in them. And so with them comes these science kits. And in them is all the materials and everything that you need for your science experiments. Obviously, we've already been using it, so ours is halfway empty. So we have that. She has a DVD that comes with it also. And so there's a DVD of somebody showing you the science experiments as you do them. So you can do them, you can read the book, watch the DVD, and do the experiment all with them. And now that she's a little bit older, she kind of does that herself. This is another book that comes with it. It's just a light and color book, and just talks about the way light works and colors. And then every day with her science lessons, she has questions that she has to go in and answer. And then I also have we have all of these books. I don't know if you've seen them. They're the Everything You Need to Ace books. We have science and English and world history and American history. And we just kind of have them for reference or to go to and look at specific things. So like I'm having her kind of learn about cells from this book and from some videos at the moment, because I think we skipped that one in our Sonlight. When we switched curriculum, because this is our first year doing Sonlight, when we switched, we missed that subject. And it's something that I really want her to learn. So we're kind of learning that alongside of our other science at the moment. And we might do a little bit more in-depth study of cells over the summer. But that's something that I want to, cells and just different bacteria and things like that I want to go over. So this is her spelling. It comes with two of these books. The other one is still in her room on the bookshelf, but this is the teacher's guide, and the spelling you see level E. And so each week this is kind of further into the book. They have these different chunks. This is the passage, and it's actually a historically accurate passage about somebody in this time period. So this is American Spirit, so it goes along with the whole history theme that we're doing. And so they just go in and they do copy work of this whole passage. And on this side, they have these different chunks. So in blue, they have to color in the consonant chunks. In yellow, they have to do vowel chunks. And in purple, they have to do bossy R chunks. And they go through and find all of those chunks in here. And then they do the copy work. And the copy work is just the first half. And then this is 10B, and this is the second half. And then 10C, 10D, and then towards the end you get to where you're trying to do it yourself, and I'll dictate it to her. We'll tear out the last page, and then I'll dictate the story to her and she'll write it out. That's kind of like her spelling test for the week. Anyway, super simple. I love it. She's learning history at the same time. Today she said, I know who said, give me liberty or give me death. And I was like, how do you know that? We've gone over it before, but I was just curious where she got that from. She's like, from my spelling. I was like, great. Okay. Not your history book, but your spelling. We are also doing these Midgard history books. We're just doing a little bit each day. Right now we're working on the Constitution. And right now it's just we just started this one, and it's kind of giving a history of politics at the moment. So we've gone over some Greek philosophy and some Roman philosophers. Today we talked about, who did we talk about today? Today we talked about John Locke. We talked about Machiavelli. We talked about Thomas Hobbes. We talked about Charles Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Voltaire. We just kind of touched on each of them a little bit, but it's kind of giving a history of what led to people making the Constitution the way it is, the ideas that went into it, and where they came from. And I really like that. So they just have short sections, and then we answer some questions that we have to look up the answers to. So like this is Athenian democracy. You read that and then you answer a few questions, and I'm just having her do those short things each day. For English and writing, actually I just realized I don't think I have her grammar out here. So writing was, like I said, she has a little bit of dysgraphia, and so it's really hard for her to get her ideas from her head onto paper, or even forming her ideas. So I did some research. I asked some homeschool friends, and I ended up getting Institute for Excellence in Writing, and this is the very first level. This is year 1, level A. And I love it. I did the forever streaming, so she goes online and watches, there's one video per week, and she watches the first half one day and the second half the next day, and then starts writing her story. But I love this a lot. And I help her with her writing. I ask questions as we're writing it. What they do is they create keyword outlines for the story that they're studying. So like, this is just the Little Red Hen abridged, and it's this side and it's this side. This is unit 3. And what she does is we do the keyword outline. She does that on her own with the teacher on the video. And then off of her keyword outline, she and I kind of sit down and go through writing the story. And my hope, kind of like that immersive thing, my hope is that in sitting there and doing it with her and talking through it with her, I can kind of help her start to think differently about writing and just show her. And I explain my thought process as I'm going. Like, I'll be like, okay, we already used this word at the beginning of the sentence twice in this paragraph. Let's change the order around so that we don't use the same, so that the is not at the beginning of every one of our sentences. Or I'll say, okay, we need to add an adverb, or we need to add an adjective or a couple of adjectives. Like we need to set the scene and make it more immersive. So she's doing a lot better. She's doing great. It's going slow because it is an area that is just a little bit more challenging. And one of the beauties of homeschool is that you can slow down in an area where your kid might be struggling and really spend the time to make sure that they know the material. So that's that. This came with it. It's a word right now. And then it's just different synonyms for like humility or hostility. And they have adjectives, adverbs, verbs, and nouns. So speaking of vocabulary, in her grammar book, which I don't have here, and of course I can't fix it, grammar is what she's doing. She's gone further in grammar than this, but I just decided to have her start at the beginning with Fix It Grammar. And it's, there's 4 sentences per week, but I have her do 2 a day since it's stuff she generally already knows. And she goes through and she marks each word within the sentence as to what part of speech it is. So like adjective, adverb, verb, noun, who, which, clauses. She'll change the order of sentences. She'll capitalize things, indent things, all of that. And then there's vocabulary words for each day. So she'll then go and write down the vocabulary words and the definitions of those vocabulary words. So I really like that. Math. Okay, so we started this year with Matthew C. And we realized that it just didn't really work for us. I totally love the concept of it. I know it works for so many people, but it wasn't really working for my daughter. It was just a lot of repetition, and she kind of like totally zones out with repetition. And I get the purpose of it, and I think it's great, but for her and her brain, she like zones out pretty quickly. So we went back to Math Lessons for a Living Education. This is by Master Books, level 6, and it's been great. She's doing really well. We got to skip a good chunk of the beginning. She's doing fraction work, decimal work, proportion work. She's doing great. I think it's fantastic. I know some people think it's a little bit behind the curve, but it seems to work really well for her and for us. And they have like a spiral approach. So you're constantly reviewing previous concepts that you've learned so that you keep them fresh in your mind, which I really appreciate. Because with math, if you're not using it, you lose it. So, and it's kind of a little bit Charlotte Mason based. So there's storyline that goes on through it, and there's recipes you can try and things like that. And then it comes with a teacher's guide. And in this grade, there's quizzes for the math. So I'll give her quizzes at the end of the week. And then it has the answer key for all the lessons. So this is what we're doing for math. Math Lessons for a Living Education by Master Books. That's so exciting. Try to contain yourself. Okay, for geography, I haven't really, we used to do the Good and the Beautiful, and they have geography cards, and she did those, but I found that I rarely did them. That was my bad. That was my fault. So right now I have her just doing this book that I actually got at Aldi, and it's Atlas of the World, and it's a sticker book, but they have a whole continent, and they talk about the continent, and there's places to put your stickers, and then they have stuff about that continent on these 2 pages. This is really short. I also have this game called Continent Race, and it teaches you like the flags of the countries, where the countries are, the continents as well, and this is a lot of learning through play for geography, which for a subject that's not particularly always interesting, I thought that was great. What else do I have to show you? Okay, this don't get overwhelmed, okay? It's not as bad as it seems. This is the teacher's manual. No, what do they call it? Instructor's guide for Sonlight. Now, but they have it. Luckily, the lady who had this before me was so wonderful, and she put all these stickers, these color-coded stickers in the beginning of this book. I don't know if you're supposed to do that. That tells you what each color is for. And she already had this all put together, which was also fantastic. So each number tab is for different weeks. And then there's a lot of extra help and stuff for the readers. That's your questions, your resources, all that good stuff is in here. Now what I do is I take out 3 to 4 weeks of the history and the science and Bible stuff. I take out 3 to 4 weeks at a time, and I just use this one that my daughter did a wonderful job decorating. And so I just have here in the beginning, I have our schedule. Wow, that totally just hit me in the face. I have our schedule for history, so it has it separated by subject. So up here is all Bible, all these things, and this is your days, and this is what you're reading, and then this is history and geography, and this is readers and read alouds down here. So they have it separated out really nicely. And so that one is history, Bible, literature, and then this is all of her science stuff and science questions. Same basic layout. But what I do, I have that, but then I make this. And I will try to remember to take a picture of this and actually like insert it so you can see. But essentially, I realized halfway through this school year that I needed a lot more structure. A lot of homeschool moms can kind of just like I get it, like they're really proud and they're excited that they can just kind of go with the flow on a daily basis. They have certain things that they want to get done, but they can go with the flow for the most part. However, I don't have that option because I have to work and it's just me. And I've had to realize, like, I feel like you don't really get in the groove too much until like midway through the school year. That's just me. Maybe that's just me. But I realized, okay, some things are working, some things are not working. We got to make some changes. So I made a very specific schedule. Like it is broken down by half-hour increments. And that amount of structure would make I don't want to say most, a lot of homeschooling moms balk, but I have to if it's going to get done. Like we tend to kind of just forget everything that needs to happen if we don't have this. So this has been a huge game changer for us this semester. If you would like to go more in depth into what this entails and all that is in it, I've already made this video way too long and have a lot of editing to do, but I would love to go over sort of our daily homeschool routine with you and show you kind of what it looks like as a single mom. If you have stuck around this long, God bless you. I hope this helps or is helpful. I have used several other curricula, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. Or share some of your favorites that might not have been in here. I have used The Good and the Beautiful. I have used Matthew C. and teaching textbooks and a few other things. But I love talking about homeschool. So I hope to hear from you guys soon. And until next time, see you later.